Councillor Sovereign, Member Norton, Councillor Beasley, and Member Fawcett.
Okay, and so at this point, we are going to reschedule this meeting for June 17th, Monday night, starting at 5 p.m. and we'll start with the agency meeting first. And I don't think it would take that long. I would think that would just take half an hour.
Oh, I think we need more time because, well, we need the minutes from the last meeting.
Right.
And then we go over that and just see. So I think we do need a full hour to discuss what we
Okay.
want to do and then go into the
And then budget.
meeting. Yeah.
Okay. And then we would adjourn that and finalize our regular budget?
No, we would do the urban renewal budget.
Yeah, urban renewal.
And then
And then-
discussion.
I don't know until we're done with tonight
Okay.
what we'll need for the city budget.
Okay.
We could do that at our city council meeting.
Maybe.
Oh, that's true, maybe. But the 6 to 7 p.m. on the, just clarifying, 6 to 7 p.m. on the 17th would be the urban renewal budget.
Correct.
Thank you.
So everything on the 17th is urban renewal.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay, so then we'll adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.
Do you need to stop recording or?
No, I'm good at splitting that now.
Okay, good, okay. Okay, so now we'll call together the regular budget meeting of the city of Depoe Bay on Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Councillor Masella,
Here.
Councillor Reck.
Here.
Member Gambino.
Here.
Councillor King. Here. Mayor Short.
Here.
Councillor Solver.
Here.
Member Norton.
Here.
Councillor Beasley.
Here.
And Member Fawcett.
Thank you and welcome. And really, I'm so grateful for all of you being here. This is the most important committee, in my opinion, of the city because we are here to discuss how to use and spend public funds. And so it's crucial that we have this time together to really go over all of this and really make sense of what's going on. One of the things that Kim has been working intensely on is putting together all of the costs and expenses that we have. And some of them are showing high, like the engineering, because we don't know. We've got projects coming up next year that we have no idea that we're gonna be, how much we're gonna be spending on that. So I want you to keep in mind that our budget is best estimates. And we try and keep within those parameters as we go along through the year. And sometimes we have to reconvene budget committees to reapprove and reassess everything. So let's open the public hearing now for state revenue shared funds.
Okay, so Tina, please note that the public hearing for state revenue was opened at 5:06 tonight.
Okay.
Okay, so do I need to go over how state revenue sharing funds work with anybody?
It would
Everybody?
be helpful.
Okay, so these are our funds and the ordinance, we have a resolution that usually passes. So every year we have to say, we do these certain things as a city. We provide police protection, we provide water, sewer services. So we are telling the state that in order to get portions of these funds, and if you look at the pages 1 through 27, if you look at page 1, we can show that is where your resources are, that shows what our shared revenue is, which are things like our liquor, OLCC, that's a shared revenue, cigarette taxes, marijuana taxes, and then there's the state revenue sharing. So all of these things we get, and we have to tell the city or the state every year that we as a city do these certain things. This public hearing that we do is giving the public a chance and anybody online to talk about what we do with the shared revenue.
Excuse me, so from the line, liquor licenses down?
Not that one, pardon me, Counselor, that is our internal, it would be essentially from cigarette taxes, marijuana taxes, liquor taxes, and state revenue share. those 4 things fall under what we have to certify to the state that we do this, but we have to provide the public a chance to talk about what we, intend to do with that. Now, the rest of the budget shows what we intend to do out of the administration with it, which is to cover our, costs to run the city. So it just gives the public a chance to speak about shared revenue.
And what would we say?
What they could say is, well, I think we should spend marijuana money to do this particular thing. They could say, I'd like to see us spend, cigarette tax money on educating the residents about the downfalls of using cigarettes or
So
something.
right now, they're not earmarked at all.
No,
It just goes in the general fund.
just goes in the general fund unless we have some specific public feedback from the public onto how we wanna spend these things. It goes in the general fund, and it's used to spend on our insurance, advertising, for the legal notices. I say advertising, it's really legal notices. Contracted services, they're to run the city, it's just put back in the general fund, but there isn't, unless it's called out, there isn't anything specific for it. It's not a whole lot, so it's not a real big piece of our general fund if you look at what we're actually getting on that.
85,000.
Yeah, it's a pretty small apples, you know, pretty small bucket. But if the residents, if our constituents wanted us to do something specific with it, this would be the time for them to identify what that is. Or for us, if the county, the budget committee is recommending we do anything specific with those funds. Otherwise, I don't know if we have any public here to speak on this matter. Otherwise, you can close the, Oh,
I have one question, and I don't know if it relates to that, but I was wondering, you know how,
you might wanna come on up, Kathy, if you don't mind, sorry.
Alright.
And just do your sign in, please, and then we can talk about it. Thank you. Then if you come up again, you won't have to sign in again.
I don't have my glasses with me.
Oh.
So Kathy Wyatt, 865 Southwest Pine Avenue, Depoe Bay. I was just curious, so our patrol officer, where do the funds that he generates the revenue from tickets, where does that go? Does that go to that fund?
We don't actually get any money from citations and things like that, none of that comes to the city, it's all handled
Through the county? Is it because we don't have a court?
Right. Yeah.
But couldn't they there's no way to make an exception, or, because that's a lot of revenue.
Pardon me, Chair, if you don't mind, I've had conversations, and it's actually what I'm being told is it's not a lot of revenue. I've talked to the lieutenant that oversees this, and I can probably get more information if the group would like. We could even talk about it during a council meeting, but I've been told by our lieutenant that it's not a lot of money, that revenue that we get on that through the tickets, so.
Okay, I was just curious.
But I can find out.
Just curious.
Sure.
Because it seems like if he's pulling people over in Depoe Bay, that money should go into the.
Only if he's issuing citations, and there isn't always a lot of that. A lot of times what our deputy likes to do is education and then issue citations,
That's
unless
awesome.
they're really flying through town.
That's great, because then it keeps the tourists happy.
Right, so he tries not to issue citations unless there's somebody flying through town.
Alright, well, thank you.
Or severe enough violations.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
In fact, he's told me, I think he's only issued a handful of citations a year since he's been here.
Sorry, Mayor, I'll make this quick. I think that Kathy raises an interesting point. I think there's a case to be made for a municipal court. But what we have to have first are reports from the sheriff, and we're not getting anything. We're spending a lot of money, and we haven't had any kind of reporting from the sheriff's office that would allow us to see how many citations are issued or how much revenue has been produced. And we're paying a lot of money for this. I'd like to see reports.
I can address that, Counselor. We've had a recent conversation with Sheriff Landers and Lieutenant Vettner, who is our kind of like a liaison. Plus, I've also spoke with Sergeant Nicholas Vale, who oversees this contract. And I've shared what I would like to see going forward, which is a better report. I showed him a sample of what Lynn County provides, and I said, surely we can provide something very similar. So they have assured me they are working on that, and they will get us a report. We'll start having them report on the second meeting, because what's happening by having them try to report on the first meeting of the month, he's not having enough time to close out the meeting. So we're scrambling, and which means I'm getting these reports at the last minute. I'm not getting these reports to you, but they're also not really good reports that meet our needs. So I'm working on it, because you're right. So, I think at the second June meeting, you'll see a better report. Thank you.
So sorry, go ahead.
What has to go into place to get to be municipal court? I mean, I know we don't have a lot of room, but what does it take to do that?
I don't actually know, but probably a lot. We would have to hire a judge. We would have to find a place and time to do it. And, what that means with what we would do with Union County, I honestly don't know. We would have to explore that.
Do other small cities have something similar?
Some do, some don't. It just depends. I know that Walport, the city manager of Walport, told me, I think they have a municipal court, and he said it's more trouble than it's worth.
Lincoln City has a municipal court also.
They're a lot bigger than we are, but when we're looking at small cities, right?
Bill, did you have a question?
Well, I was just gonna say, none of this conversation has anything to do with the state hearing that we're needing to do, right? So
So,
can we finish with that and then we can carry on with the budget stuff?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Any other public comments on state revenue shared funds? Then we'll close that hearing. And we'll move on to community support requests. Looks like Toby, you're first on the agenda.
Toby, could Dennis go first? He has somewhere he has to be at 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Is that okay with you? Thank
Absolutely.
you. And I thought he'd already given his presentation, but he hasn't, so, thank you.
Like I was in city council, so probably.
That's why I think maybe I was confused. I thought he gave his presentation, and he did, but he gave it to city council.
And since I was here not too long ago, but not to the budget committee, I thought I'd dispense with the death by PowerPoint that I did before, so I just have a few notes and thought I would make people familiar that aren't already with what we do and exactly what we're looking for here.
You're talking about Friends of Otter Rock.
Yes, Friends of Otter Rock, sorry, Dennis White, live in Depoe Bay here, and our mailing addresses in this town as well. So it's Friends of Otter Rock is a nonprofit organization that oversees and has volunteers and interns at the Devil's Punch Bowl and the Marine Gardens in the area of the Otter Rock Marine Reserve. So that's what we're working on. I know some of you have viewed our video, and that's something you funded, so thank you very much for that. And if you want to go to our website, is friendsofotterrock.org. You can see it again. It was really, I think, a wonderful video that we were allowed to put together from your funding, and there are some local personalities in it that you'll recognize, and it gives a very good overview of what we do and why we're here. In terms of our purpose and primary actions, we're really there to inspire protection and preservation of the ocean habitat and wildlife in the Otter Rock area for generations to come. And we're really looking forward. We train adult volunteers and high school interns from the schools that your kids go to greet visitors and connect them with some inspiration for the reason that they visit. There are a lot of different reasons that people come for. It might be viewing the punch bowl itself, it might be the tide pools, it might be the whales, very popular, the whales. And so we try to find out why they're there and then connect with that with a story about it and kind of increase their understanding and appreciation for the area. And we have interpretive materials on whales, on the punch bowl itself, the geology, the tide pools, birds, ecology, tribal history is something that we've recently developed in working with the Sluts Confederated Tribes. And these interpretive interactions, we think, elevates their, not only the understanding of why they came, but why they should help preserve it, why they should be good stewards, and how they can visit responsibly while they're there. So why should the city care about this? The Otter Rock Marine Reserve and associated parkland is one of three primary designations here. There's the aquarium, which everybody knows about, the Quinn Head, and our organization, our area, which has more visitors, believe it or not, than the other two. And so, we're there to try to elevate to interact with visitors. We train, as I said, the interns and the volunteers to understand these various issues, train on ecology, the wildlife that's there and so on. And so they're the ones that we put front and center to interact with the visitors who come. 25% of the visitors that come live here. So out of that's like 250,000 visits. So the people who live here, you and I, visit more than once. Typically, an average household is going to be visited multiple times. So it's important to us in that, and we live here and we love the environment that we're in. So it's important to make that appreciated, and that there aren't violations of visitors and this sort of thing that are occurring. So residents have a vested interest in preserving the features that are there, we think. Also, residents learn about the park and the features when they visit. So our volunteers are there to kind of elevate their understanding when they come. We also solicit our volunteers from local residents. So the local residents are our volunteers and our high school interns. So we connect with them that way. And the training that they get obviously is very rich and increases their appreciation of the area, why they should care, and enables them to communicate that to the visitors who come. We recruit kids from the local high schools, we train them, and we pay them. We don't pay the volunteers, but we pay the high school kids. So they're Taft is the high school we use here in Depoe Bay, and so we solicit their kids from that school. The other 75% of the visitors do not live here, and they're important because they provide economically hundreds of millions of dollars every year to the local economy, not just our economy, but obviously others as well. And so that group is probably the one that we need to watch out for the most, because they don't live here. I think they're much more prone to do things maybe they shouldn't do, and in some cases things that endanger them safety-wise. But we found that the presence of the volunteers at the site is an incredibly important deterrent to people climbing the fence where they shouldn't be, disturbing the nests that they shouldn't be disturbing, and the safety precautions they should watch out so they can be safe. So we found that the amount of nest disturbances and the climbing of the fence has almost disappeared. And it's not that we're enforcing this, it's that the presence of a person with a green vest is a deterrent all by itself. We can interact with them. We're instructed very carefully not to try to think that we're enforcers, because we're not. But almost 100% of the time, these interactions are done in a very friendly basis. People are apologetic if they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. Say, I didn't know, I didn't see the sign or whatever. Probably not true, but they've been very cooperative and receptive to what we had to say. And as I said, those visitors who don't live here provide hundreds of millions of dollars for the local economy. So beyond these are our primary activities. Beyond those, we also have activities that we refer to as community science. So we cover things like sea star surveys, debris monitoring, things like that. Some of which are, and also we have a monitor in the water for ocean acidification. So and sea star monitoring. So these are things that can be a tip-off if something is going south there ecologically. And so we have people who are stationed to look at the birds and count the birds, monitor nests and this sort of thing. And they come down typically, well, in some cases every week, depending what the survey is. Mostly it's every month though. We're also on a core team that helped write and create the proposals for expanding marine protective areas on the coast. So I personally worked with Lincoln City Outer Bend for 2 proposals, one of which is at Cape Fallweather, and a second thank you for you is the letter of support that you wrote a few years back on supporting the expansion and the creation of a new marine protection area right in our backyard. So Cape Fallweather, all the way up to Whale Cove is where that new territory is. And we're participating on the planning process for the 8 that got approved, which includes the Department of Land Conservation and Development, NOAA, and the 8 proposers for those 8 new areas. So we'll be working on a plan for those areas. Councilor Rick has also proposed one at Fogarty Creek, and is involved in that process as well. And finally, please mark your calendars for June 22. We're putting on an educational program for the Cape Fallweather acquisition. Probably, I don't know if anybody's aware of the fact that Mackenzie River Trust bankrolled the purchase of the south side of Cape Fallweather with the intent that NOAA would then buy it back from them, and then NOAA is turning it over to the Siletz Confederated Tribes. So that whole process is going to be discussed at this meeting on the 22nd. It's going to be at the Spyglass restaurant at Ottercrest. So we invite you to come and learn about that if you don't know about it already, or if you do, come anyway.
What time is that?
It's at 10 a.m. It's a Saturday. Sorry to dig into your Saturdays, but that tends to be when people can go to things like that. So yeah, it's 10 o'clock at the Spyglass. So that's what I have, and I hope you can continue to support us. We're very grateful for the support you've given us so far. Any questions
for Dennis?
Fran?
So this year, we have in our budget, $3,000. Last year, I think we had 5,000.
No.
Well, the first year you funded it was 5,000, that's correct. And that was specifically for the video and the associated story. And then last year was less than that.
It was like
13
Yeah.
was the last of the nearshore action team.
Okay, and then this year's 3,000, so that would be a good.
They requested
Between.
5, so
Yeah, you requested 5. Anything would be nice.
the council or the committee is entirely, it's your choice what you recommend.
I have a question. This is the first I've heard about this Mackenzie River Trust has bankrolled the purchase of, which, you said the south side of Cape Fallweather?
Yeah, the entire south side, this was a surprise to me, but is private, what has been private property. They did put it up for sale, not very successfully because it's so steep. And it also has a state requirement that anything built cannot be visible from the top. So that kind of tanked any prospect, I think, of, building a hotel or something.
So this is in the possession of the Siletz tribes now?
It is or will be shortly. NOAA, I think, just acquired it from Mackenzie River Trust, and they're going to be turning it over.
You don't know how many acres this is?
Oh, it's about 4.7, something like that.
Oh, just 4.7 acres?
Yeah, it's not a lot. Wow. But it is the entire south side, and it's right, it abuts right up against the Seacrest and Ottercrest communities that are up the hill from them.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dennis? Alrighty.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your giving me a chance to get to my other meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Toby, do you want to come up now?
Sure.
Okay. And you're gonna make your 6 o'clock break.
Here.
Good to see you all.
Yes, good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. No problem. So, I
am here again to represent Neighbors for Kids. I believe I know just about everyone here. I just wanted to say that it's hard to believe that we've been around for 25 years now. Neighbors for Kids, we just had that little anniversary celebration and a couple of you attended, and I thought it was quite powerful of an event, and just a quarter century of just memories and things, and it was neat to see all the people who showed up and just getting our kids involved. For those of you who didn't go, it was on May 18th, and we kind of honored all the actions and activities that helped Neighbors for Kids evolve to who we are today, going back to like the oldest stories that are like in newspaper articles and just verbally said from like Jack and Maggie Brown and Loretta. And it's amazing that I've somehow been 18 out of 25 of those years I've been here. And so I'm part of the story, you could say. But I think who stole the show was those girls who sung with Michael Dane Over the Rainbow. It was beautiful, and it transitioned into what a wonderful world. It was like, if you didn't have a Kleenex next to you there, it's going to be a cry fest. But it was super cool that we did that in an honor. So I wanted to just bring that up and thank you for attending. And I'm here because we submitted our annual funding request. And this year it was for $20,000, slightly more than we have in the past. And honestly, with the cost of inflation and us trying to retain our good staff and keep up with our bills and being a much more challenging year for fundraising, I just figured I'd request more. There's no more of that pandemic relief support funding, that's sunsetted out. So now we're back to, true grassroots nonprofit with a big budget, but we do a lot of good work. So that's kind of where we're at with funding wise this year. Something going on your way right now I wanted to share with you guys, just some updates here, is we're doing community engagement. We're doing some strategic planning. We're looking at like another 3 to 5 year strategic plan. And we just got through like the interview and survey phase, and I interviewed Mayor Short and just a lot of community partners, government, county commissioners, the youth, the parents were surveyed, just all kinds of results. We had about 100 of these come back. So with that data, we had like the results that we looked at with all these outside looking in perspectives. And it was actually quite powerful to hear what other people think of us who aren't us. And I'm a grant writer, I have to write these narratives and try to convince the funders for money and stuff. But to hear how other people describe us was actually more powerful than I've ever been able to write it myself. And it was quite an honor, and it made me quite proud to hear like just what parents would say or what just a community member would say. And I wanted to share just a couple of these I had with you. I have like them in quotes here, and they're all anonymous. We don't even know who said it, but I know what was said. One person in town said, "Don't want to overstate it, but besides the fire department, NFK is the most important safety net in our community. NFK is the first responder in Depoe Bay." Like things like that were powerful, And we can use that with our stakeholders and with our funding requests to show what the world thinks of us. And then just one more I want to share real quick, because this one is about like us being grassroots Depoe Bay based. This one parent who lives right down the road from here said, "The best place in the whole world for kids and families. My village that helped raise my kid and an answer to our prayers." Like talk about a qualitative, data right here. So anyways, that's leading up to a board retreat. We've had some new board members jump on recently, and we're getting some good input and good actions from them, helping to move the mission forward. Another thing going on, an update here that what's interesting is a lot of these interviews sprouted into new opportunities. Like when I met with you and you're like, we should partner and think about new things to do and think about emergency preparedness. And so all this interviewing and these relationship building, it kind of blossomed into all these other potential new opportunities of how to extend our impact, how to maybe use our building for things beyond just the kids, like that ice storm. So I actually recently applied for that Oregon Department of Human Services Resiliency Hub funding.
Good, you did apply for it, good.
Just in time. There's like 10 million available across Oregon. And I went ahead and worked with local contractors and got bids about how could we change our facility physically so in another ice storm, our electricity wouldn't just be out and turned into an iceberg in there. How do we help people? Like, how do we fill that building as an emergency shelter? You know, so I developed a project and submitted the funding, and it would be basically converting that entire building to something beyond just electric grid. You know, like if it all went natural gas, basically with a high power generator, as soon as that grid, you know, clicked off, that generator would kick right in, and we could feed people could sleep there now because of the code we brought the building up to. People could be taken well care of there and fed, you know, and so we're looking at ways like that to just build our capacity. And it just makes sense. We're right here. It's almost 8,000 square feet. It's strong, it's safe. And there's no reason that we shouldn't move forward in a way to use that building for more of a larger community. You know, so that's welcome to my world. That's the type of stuff I do. Find opportunities and, you know, look at ways we can help more people, you know, in more ways. So it's pending, you know, there's about $70,000.
End of June.
Yeah, so if that happens, then the work's it's not terribly complex. There's just a lot of converting from electric to water, you know, gas powered boilers and water heaters and, yeah, so anyways, that's going on right now. Otherwise, the request this year was just towards general operating support. And that's kind of where a lot of even some of the grant foundations are going. They're like, oh, okay, they've been around a while, they have a good mission, they do good work, we believe in them. We want to help move that work forward with funding. So this year I asked the city just kind of in a very general operating support to help us fund our costs. Like you were talking about your general fund to run things, you know, to pay our people, to pay the bills, and so on. So that's kind of all I had, short and sweet this year. I didn't want to get too into all the things I always say. I just wanted to update you guys. Thank you for your past support and just invite you to, you know, to help us again.
May I ask one quick question?
Sure.
How's the salmon army doing? Have they gotten up there yet?
Oh, yes, the salmon army have been up there a couple times and they're so excited. And right when I thought they had bad behavior, Ken's like, oh, those kids were great. And I'm like, they were. You know, yeah, and Beanie's gonna try to be back around once he's back from his fishing boat, you know, project. And yeah,
The
so I
kids
think,
are having fun?
yeah, they're having lots of fun and I've been taking them up there, you know, because I'm like the guy who just can do it and has flexible time to take kids on little field trips. But I'm glad we got it all figured out.
Yeah, me too.
Just in time to have like 5 weeks and
That's great.
until school runs out. Then we're gonna actually extend it into our summer program for the first time ever and all the way up to the fin clipping event. Because sometimes we lose some kids like right in that first few weeks after school gets out. And so now we're gonna kind of keep it consistent and get up there with Beanie and volunteers. And then it reminds them that, oh, this Saturday is when we do the next part, we release these fish to live their lives in the sea. You know, but it's super cute that they're there and they have their little shirts on.
Do they wear their t-shirts? Good.
I even wore the shirt, you know, the first day we went, it's like Salmon Army. And what's neat is this summer, we're gonna introduce another new generation of kids into it. So we're gonna, of course, get permission slips and do it all like we need to, but get like the next generation of the little Salmon Army, they respectfully name themselves. It's kind of interesting how kids just use the, you know, words army and stuff so loosely nowadays, but yeah, but things are going well over there. Summer's right around the corner. We're ramping up. We got short staff and now we're trying to hire back staff and getting everybody trained up and ready for some long 10 weeks of 10-hour days with kids there the whole time. So,
That's right.
but you know, that's just what we do now. As soon as that bell rings and the school year's out, someone has to take care of the kids. Parents gotta go to work. And oftentimes, as you know, with our tourism-based economy, they work more and they work longer.
Right.
So we know the patterns by now, and we just keep kind of adapting and improving and being able to accommodate that for parents.
True asset to the city. Any questions for Toby? I wanna go on one of your field trips.
I think we can, we need volunteers.
Oh, I don't wanna volunteer.
You don't have to volunteer.
You can just take you on a field trip as a group of kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, that's all I have today, guys, and I appreciate your time. Thanks for attending the event. It's nice seeing you there.
Thanks, Toby.
That's ours. I mean, you can have it, but I don't think you want it.
I have enough paperwork.
You have enough of your own now.
Come on
Thank you all.
up, Kathy.
Thanks, Debbie.
Another successful event
Thank you.
yesterday.
Thank Thank you. Kathy Wyatt, representing Fleet of Flowers. We're requesting $4,000 this year. We have in the past requested $3,000, but as everything costs have gone up again, and luckily we do have a fundraiser that, helps support and our gear that we sell. But that would be helpful if the city could, donate that to us. Any questions?
Yeah, I had one question, as I was going over the budget, I was kind of confused as to, 12,000 in income and $16,450 in expenses?
Let me look. So
The total is $16,450 in expenses.
right, I think Clary kind of overstated that just in case, because of different costs and stuff, or you're looking at last year's.
I have in front of me 2024-25's $3 budget.
Yep. So I know, yeah, she does. Mine says 12,000
For income
for
and
income.
expenses.
Oh, expenses.
When you add that all up,
I must have missed the sheet then. Mine is, oh, you mean at the very end when you add it all up, it comes to that? All right, I'm not sure on that, I'm sorry.
So is that why the 4,000 is being asked?
no, it's included up in the top, city grant for 4,000.
So, I don't know, maybe she didn't, I don't know, because I didn't do it, I apologize, I don't have the answer to that.
Do you have any, do you end up in the black, or how do you guys end up?
We do have revenue in our account, just in case something should happen, like if we can't perform the fish fry, which is a huge one. Just to have a backup, because when we started, it was a few dollars in the account only, so we just like to have that additional funds, just in case there was something that happened.
So you don't end up in the hole?
We do not.
Is this a projected budget?
It is.
So they're projecting expenses of
4,450 over their income.
4,000 over their income.
Well, we do have additional funds in our account.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, to cover it all.
Yes, we do
Okay.
have additional funds in our account, like she was inquiring. We
Okay.
do have a little nest egg, just like I said, in case one year we couldn't do the fundraiser, or we didn't sell the apparel, or that kind of stuff.
Okay.
All right,
Any other questions for Kathy?
and Kim, did Clary send you an email inviting everyone?
Yes, and I forwarded it out to
Okay.
everybody. But there was some confusion, are they still doing pizza for the guys on Thursday?
They are on Thursday, so
Okay.
she'll bring that over on Thursday,
Okay.
and then on June 10th, there'll be
Just spaghetti.
a big spaghetti dinner for everyone. I don't know if everyone has Facebook, but if you could kind of maybe keep a running tally so that we know.
Of who's might be coming, I can find it.
And it's for, spouses, kids, et cetera. And we are, getting the food for that pretty much donated. And then the church is gonna cook it and have it there, so it'll be a great community.
What time was that?
Excuse me,
What time was that?
it's at 5:00
Oh, okay.
on June 10th at the Bayside Chapel.
I sent an email
Oh,
out with everybody, that information.
left home before I read all my emails for the day, sorry.
And I did have one other thing, Cassie, that I'd like to meet with you on, because I know you're passionate about the harbor, so I have an idea that might generate some revenue for the harbor.
Oh, okay.
So whenever we can have a quick minute, we can visit.
I'd love that.
Perfect.
Alrighty.
The event was wonderful.
Thank you.
I had a blast, I was on the ski wall, talking to people, a lot of people were like, I saw everybody standing around, but what are they all doing here? So I had one of the programs.
Oh, very
And I just was passing the program, this is why we're here, this is why we're here, this is why.
Well, just hold on, because guess what? It's the 80th next year.
Media, wow.
So super exciting.
You got a lot of votes.
We did a lot
19,
of,
And Coast Guard.
and the Coast Guard always goes, and we also had a couple of recreational vehicles out.
Yeah, I saw that.
So people had contacted me and said, can we join? And of course, anybody can join, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good one. The weather was amazing.
Oh, yeah, if we held it this morning, that would have been a disaster.
No kidding, right? And I appreciate you coming and helping. And are you telling me to wrap it up?
Yeah,
We have a lot of work to do here.
thank you.
You're welcome. You guys have a great day. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Toby. Okay, so where do we start, Kim? What's your suggestion?
At the beginning.
Okay, so everyone had a chance to go over all the questions. Everybody had a chance to send in their questions and Kim answered them, I think fairly and.
Yeah, I did, I mean, I read them really briefly, but I didn't have, chance to go over them, it was just in today.
Yeah.
We can just go through them, I mean, we can just start with page 1 with resources, and I can, if there's any questions, I mean, you may have gotten these just recently, but you have this, so hopefully,
Is this the same you said as this?
yeah, it's just a few updates to some lines, kind of, but it's 95%
You can point
the
out
same.
some of the updates.
I will be happy, they're in red,
Oh, okay.
on the copy that you got, they're in red.
Thank you.
But I will go over them. Okay, so we'll start with resources. So there wasn't really a lot of questions about resources, except for how do we get more? So that's something to talk about, the council would wanna talk about as a big approach to our revenue sources within, Depoe Bay. One item in red is Lincoln County building permits. I put that in here as a placeholder, but we got response today that there was an IGA with Lincoln County building permitting to do our building. Well, they stopped making these payments, okay? So we were getting paid quarterly. One quarter was $900, one was $1198, one was $312.25, another was $602.75. So that's kind of where we're on in that. However, according to what the email I got from Ano with Lincoln County, when John Rodriguez, the new billing guy, came on board, they stopped it. They found out that this apparently back in the 90s, the county commissioners at the time said, well, let's give some of this money back to the city. But apparently they rescinded the IGA. I don't know anything about rescinding. And this is actually brought to my attention through Walport, who was talking about the same thing. And then we checked in and found out, oh no, you're right, we have not done anything since 2022. So I have more work to do on that. I think I'm just gonna take it out. I don't know what it will be. So we get,
minor.
it's pretty small. So even if we take it out, I'll just throw it into miscellaneous revenue if we start getting it. But from what I think, they apparently rescinded that. They also apparently rescinded the IGA that says that the cities have to do their own code enforcement. Now they're saying for the IRS, if the city doesn't do code enforcement, then Lincoln County has to step in. And by code enforcement, I'm talking about building permitting and that sort of stuff. I'm not talking about regular stuff. So this was all apparently rescinded in an IGA, and like I said, since I've been here, I've not seen anything from Lincoln County rescinding anything. So I have a feeling the cities in Lincoln County that are supported by Lincoln County will be having a chat with Lincoln County about this. So it's not a lot, but it's more like the principle of them simply deciding to rescind an IGA without having discussions.
How would you do that?
That's a good question. So I'm gonna find out how they did that.
If I may, I brought this question up specifically because we have a planner that gets paid out of our budget, and we fund what his activities are by the building permits. You know, we charge the city, whatever the fee is to do that. And it seemed, when I was looking at the numbers, it just didn't seem like we were funding the planner with what our permit costs were. And so then it became a question of, well, don't we get money back from the county as well to cover some of that cost? And it sounds like we're not getting that money either. So there was it seemed to me to be a discrepancy between the intake numbers, the amount of money we're getting for permits versus what we're paying for a planner to be able to do his job.
So that's similar, maybe Kim had answered that, but when we have geologic reports, we should be getting reimbursed by the developer for those, costs.
And they are, I get the invoices to Kip. They have not had any cases closed yet, they only bill, so they get a deposit. For whatever the item is, they get a deposit, and then the money is spent out of the deposit. When the case closes and it's all done, they do an accounting at the end of it and say, okay, well, here's all the costs, here's what the expenses were, is there any money you still owe, or do we owe you any money? And that,
So that would show up in the land-use/permit fee?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
And that includes the second opinion on the geological review.
yes,
We did that as well.
yes.
Thank you.
So should we just start with general fund, resources, any other?
Well, that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
yeah.
I did want to bring up to the attention that, in the past, it doesn't look like the LGIP income was actually tracked in the budget at all. So looking at the interest income, only about $300 is from UNCLA. We gotta do something with our money because they're killing us with interest in a good way on LGIP. So I think I'm gonna institute the program that we used in Millersburg, which is our general fund account, our banking account. We would only keep like 250,000 in it. And then everything else stayed in LGIP because it got such great return. And then when we needed payroll or something like that, we would do transfers. LGIP is very easy to transfer any money now, but I'm gonna talk to Margaret or tell her what I'm doing. Because on our general fund, we get nothing. We get no interest on two of our accounts.
May I ask for the LGIP?
Local government investment program is like a.
It's through the state.
Where's that money? Where's the money?
It's through the state, it's held into whatever state trust, whatever state trust they do, yeah.
So is Margaret our banker?
She's the Umpqua banker, and I wanna give her a chance to see what we have, but I don't think Umpqua's gonna be able to match what they're doing.
I believe when we were on financial advisory, we discussed this and there was some liquidity issues with moving huge amounts of money over there, that if the city needed to be able to get, we needed $500,000 for a project or something, that there might have been an issue with that, so you wanna just verify.
I'll
that that's the
verify,
case.
but we had no issues with immediate transfers of money through Millersburg.
I don't think that's an issue.
Big money too, cause they have a lot of cards, so.
Kim, what are they currently paying on the LGIP?
That's over 5%. And with Umpqua, it's 0.01. Yeah,
That is what you're.
I was really shocked when I was looking, I was like, am I reading that right? I was like, that is really low.
So how much of the general fund money is in Umpqua right now?
About almost 9 million. Oh, in Umpqua? Shoot. Oh, nope, I don't have it in front of me. I didn't bring it with me. I can go get the statements, but there's maybe 3 or 4 million, maybe.
I think that's
Okay, should
And
we move
a
on?
lot of that's sitting in the general. I'm just gonna start, I'll verify moving from Umpqua to LGIP, but it should be pretty soon.
But that covers your payroll.
Oh, yeah, we'll just move money when we need to.
Any other questions on general fund resources? Shall we move over to expenditures?
Okay, so
It's administration program expenditures.
Page 3 of the new piece.
thank you.
So the one change I made there besides the 3.3 COLA adjustment to payroll was, I don't know why, Council King asked why I have so much in temporary seasonal. I don't know, so I just reduced it to 23, which is more in line with what we have. Let's see, I didn't, some of my notes on the page 1 of the 52-page packet was talking about some of these items that, just so you understand where it's coming from, like I put 60,000 in counting an audit. I have no idea how much this is gonna cost us to go through these audits. So, it might even need to put in, you might need more. So it's kind of like, I just don't know what an auditor is gonna cost us.
When, is that the, oh, I see it, okay.
My guess would be more. My guess would be more.
My guess is gonna be more too. And then,
Oh, I'm sorry,
There's kind of in the hole.
yeah, you are.
The to-date actuals, to-date, which date? Is it to-date, or is it like the end of May, April, or
what page are you on?
just any of them? The to-date actuals?
Oh, today actuals would be through the end of April. I did not go through May because we hadn't had them, but I updated them most recently to the end of April.
So, regarding accounting and audit, I mean, we already know from the council meeting that the CPA that's going to help get the books in line is at a $60,000 price tag. And we're now saying that we're only gonna budget $60,000, so that doesn't include any of the audit. So I think this number is understated of where it needs to be.
I agree on that, I think.
Maybe we should separate out the accounting from the audit.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think that's a good one.
You tell me where that is, Bill.
It's on the, under total personnel services, it's the second line item down under.
So do we wanna increase, what do you suggest,
Do we have the bids back from the auditor?
Not yet, but I just sent the four she told me, and we're supposed to have a meeting this week with one of them.
So we should know that figure before we.
Oh, I think we'll know by May 15th, I think, or June 15th, I think we'll know by
And then I like, Councilman Sal's idea of putting it on two lines, accounting.
That was Councilor.
Oh, Councilor. Whose idea that was?
You want,
You want a
so
separate-
essentially what that means is creating a new program code, which I can do. Or I can do like do in blue, which leave accounting and audit, and then just refer
Yeah,
to,
that's fine.
like CPA under one line in
Sure.
blue, and then the audit in the
There
other
you
line, I can do that.
That'll work, good, thank you.
So should we just double that, make it 120,000? So as we know,
Well, if we'll know by next 15th, we could wait. Unless you wanna have a placeholder now.
let's just put a placeholder in, yeah, just,
How much, another 60,000?
yeah, because we spent 40,000, this year, 42,500.
Where do you see that?
We spent 7,100.
To, what's his name?
Oh, yeah.
Well, where is that? That's a good point, that should actually be there. Huh, let me double check that.
What was a combination of this year and last year?
Oh, well, then this is only this year. Yeah. Sorry, this is only this year.
But totally.
But you're right, totally, we spent ISO that much, but this is just this year. I was getting scared here, thinking, oh.
No. So, there is one thing that I would like to take out of our budget under dues and subscriptions. And it's on my page 4. I would like to remove $200 to the Depoe Bay Chamber of Commerce. I have, information on that I cannot share at this time, but I do believe we need to distance ourselves from that.
Where are we, please?
Under dues and subscriptions, it's,
So I see that.
that one.
I support that.
Well, can we leave it in the budget, and maybe we don't up our budget? I mean, maybe we don't renew our membership.
I'd like to remove it from the budget.
What if another group gets started?
Then we,
That's another issue.
yeah, that'd be another issue, but I don't believe.
There would be some flexibility in the budget and other categories if you needed to do that, that's what miscellaneous is for, so doesn't necessarily have to be under contract, if there are dues and subscriptions, so.
Mayor, if I could, I just want to say that I would be uncomfortable with that, not knowing. You say you have some privileged information, I think we should know what that is. I thought about this. I thought about this today, about our Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to see, I'd like to see us come together around an organization that, promotes and does things, which they have been doing.
I would love to speak to this.
Oh, please.
When I got here, I'm a strong advocate of chambers. I've worked with them in cities that I've been involved with them, and I think they provide a real benefit. despite everything that I heard about our chamber, I ignored it. You can ask my staff. I was like a Pollyanna, like rose-colored glasses. But over the time, I have been shown by the executive director that what I've been told is true. She's fallen through on a lot of things she said she would do. She's a pain to work with us. It's a constant battle to get her to work with the city. I tried to set up regular meetings with her. I tried everything I could to get her to come together with the city and support it as much as I could. To the fact that I probably annoyed the staff, right? Paul will speak to how much I annoyed the staff, because I just did not want to give up on an organization that I think could be a real benefit. But we, for example, I'm trying to think of a good example. For example, I get told that, what we do, the crab feed. The crab feed was moved for not the reason that was stated. It was moved for a personal issue. And then I learned that the next day she went out on a boat when she should have not been able to. So there's a lot of things that I've seen and experienced that have been upsetting, because I want it to work and we need somebody to do this for us.
And at this point, the city is getting requests and that we cannot honor. And I believe our reputation as a city is being absolutely miscompromised.
Yeah, so on this matter, we're talking about a $200 budget item and in millions of dollars worth of budget. And so I don't think it matters one way or the other. I think the city council just needs to decide, are we gonna join the chamber or are we not gonna join the chamber?
Correct.
Leaving the line item in the budget, I don't know that it's that big of a deal, at least that's my opinion. But I would follow along the line that the city needs something to promote the businesses and the tourism that goes on in the city. And I would question whether the Depoe Bay Chamber is that organization. But that's another budget item later down that we'll need to talk about. In this case, I just don't think that $200 on a budget item here is that big of a deal. And you know.
Should we leave it open for tourism and not name them? I would like to just remove them from our.
Yeah, so for me, it doesn't matter one way or the other. It's a $200 budget item, it's not a
And
big
just
deal.
so you know, when the budget gets published, the blue lines are not intended for public consumption, they're just backup material. This is just so you guys. Dues and subscriptions gets published just as a line item, so.
Why would the public see the whole?
Because they can see it if they want it, but the idea is that it causes more confusion. So this is the way, I mean, I'm willing to publish anything you want, this is kind of the way they did it. And we did it in Millersburg, is that the council got to see, I mean, this got published on the website, but the final budget is only the black. So it's just a simple budget.
And we could say for more details,
They can always look at the past versions or come to City Hall, you betcha.
look at past versions,
Like tonight's meeting, this was published at tonight's
but
meeting.
if it's published, can't we publish the full, even if we simplify it for,
I will do whatever you want me to do.
I think we should be as transparent as we can,
Absolutely. I
Okay.
agree.
personally.
So the question of whether this should be removed or not, it doesn't matter to me either way. It's-
Then let's rename it. I mean, the two
Rename
names, yeah, we'll call it,
Miscellaneous.
yeah, miscellaneous, or
Or
tourism.
tourism works, I mean,
Tourism
that's
activities.
Yeah.
Well, except it's not a dues and subscription.
Yeah, that's true too. Well,
It's not a miscellaneous would be better.
miscellaneous is
Okay,
better.
okay.
We're all good with miscellaneous.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Okay.
just, is it possible before we pull out of that organization that we bring in the executive director, express our concerns, and see if we can't work together or work something out?
I believe you would be getting further lies. We are not able to get any financial records from her, and that is what is needed to proceed at this time. So I believe, I don't believe we would gain anything by meeting with her.
Moving on, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So,
regarding the Lincoln County Sheriff line item,
Yes.
That's for one, I mean, that's for, we didn't agree as a city council to have two. So this is just for one, right? In our, on page 2 of 52, it says that this number represents the addition of a second deputy. So before we had it, it was more,
That's
four
it's
hundred seventy-five.
under tier two.
So this is general fund.
This is general fund. We can only fund 1% of the sheriff from the tourism money. That's according to the ordinance. So it's under TRT as under the sheriff contract. It's on the page when we get to TRT.
So,
But the general fund is only, so if you don't fund a second deputy, if you guys decide not to recommend a second deputy, and if the council decides not to fill it, then this whole 183 can actually come under TRT.
so I think it's important that we just draw this distinction between TRT and general fund. The way that the legal was described to us was that 8% was grandfathered in under the old ORSs that said that money, when it was transient lodging taxes, was part of the general fund.
7% is grandfathered, not 1%.
7% and then 1% for the
That is that
sheriff.
related,
But
yes.
that was done by the city councilors in Depoe Bay.
Yes.
So it was originally 8%,
Yes.
and the city councilors at that time said, of that 8%, 1 whole percentage point is going to go to fund law enforcement. So that started back in 1997 or whenever that ordinance was written for that. And so that account has a pretty substantial amount of money because we
Sure
only
does.
have 1 year of law enforcement. And so it's not coming out of transient lodging tax. It's not coming out of the 70-30 split that is now what everybody thinks is transient lodging tax. It's coming out of the general fund, which is funded by transient lodging, but it's really not lodging tax designated money anymore. It's moved into the general fund as an 8% bank of money that the city could use in their general fund for whatever they wanted to, because that's the way it was.
But no money's transferred.
Right,
That's my
so
point.
I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is that we're not funding a new deputy out of transient lodging money. We're funding the new deputy out of money that has been saved for years and years and years and years for public safety. And whether that money is in a fund now in our accounting system or whatever, the reality is that 1% should go back to whenever it was, and we should be funding that deputy out of whatever money is in those funds. And there shouldn't be a need to come up with a budget item out of transient lodging because we already have the money sitting in a fund somewhere.
But I don't know that yet because I haven't had that audit done and the records have not, there's been no transfers, there's been nothing for a long time. Yes.
We know the money's there.
Well, it's obvious the money's there, so I have people ask me what's the beginning balance of 6 million? And it's what I did when I did a deep dive to find out that no transfers have been made.
But the other question, and we don't have to discuss it here, but we have to discuss it somewhere, is if we get the traffic signs, most of what the deputy does is traffic, and we've learned today that he doesn't charge anything, which we wouldn't get anyway. He doesn't give citations. There's very little that is law enforcement, other than 90% of what we see is traffic violations. And not here for 25% of the time that we pay for. And when we get the traffic signs that show speeding, one of the other documents we got in the city council showed that that we don't need a sheriff to enforce those traffic speeding violations. That can go directly to the courts. So I would like to see, and maybe we can fund another deputy. I want to see what the value is of having another deputy if we have the traffic signs that can be enforced directly.
I disagree, Fran. I mean, his presence out there is so important.
He stops pedestrians from crossing, he enforces the people that stay in line. He looks at people who are parking in the loading zone when he's here. He does some code enforcement for me for traffic and parking.
He's been a huge asset to our city.
And he does enforcing, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He does enforce, he just doesn't always issue a ticket, but he does enforce.
Robert?
And I see a lot of stuff that the sheriff, that the deputy does that's off of 101 in our neighborhoods. At least once a week, a sheriff is driving down my street. If anybody who recalls where I live, there's only
Yeah.
15 homes. And what's the point of driving down that street? But he does. I see him all over the place, doing business checks.
And wouldn't it be nice to have him here instead of Sunday through Wednesday to have
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday funded as well, and giving us that visual. It's a huge asset.
So
He also enforces at the boat launch too.
I'd really like to hear from actually Lieutenant Ertner and see if it's a give take, you know, like what are you doing for us? What could you do for us? You know, how can we work together better? You know, counselors, what some of them want to see two people, different schedule. I don't know, I would just like to have more dialogue with them direct.
Is that a council? That sounds like a council thing, so.
Yeah.
But we have to do something with the budget, so I
Oh,
don't
right,
know.
oh, yeah.
He's out this week, meaning, no, last week he was traveling, he might be back this week.
Casey or Carl? Oh.
Casey's on vacation,
That's why you didn't see him?
that's why.
Okay.
He was here yesterday,
On the boat.
yeah, but he was also down.
Oh, okay.
He had the car down there and everything.
So the
He was-
budget, yeah, I would like, I'd love to have two people, or at least spread the hours out more for budget discussion.
Any other comments on that?
I'm kind of curious, since I'm not on the council anymore. You mentioned traffic signs, like automated ones, and you mentioned enforcement. How can a traffic sign become an enforcement?
They have cameras apparently, I don't know.
That's not the signs that I'm looking at us getting. I'm not looking at the ones that
Those
would go
aren't
to
photo
municipal court.
camera signs.
And these are just, it's a camera, but it's not a real camera. It's like a flashing light to make it look like a camera. That's a different thing to get the ones that actually go to the court, and I have not explored that.
That would be outrageous.
It's what?
That would be outrageously expensive, would be
Well, every time I see one, I slow down.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Oh, they absolutely will make people slow down, but the problem is that we only can put them in two places right now. And if you ask Casey where the points are that people hit the speed, they won't be where those signs are.
Why not?
Because we can only put them in two places, 25. A lot of times people coming off the bridge here, they think we're trying to get on the side, they think it's 35 because they see a sign way down here. So they hit that bridge and they hit the beds. I see it every single morning.
And I see it, I see.
And they do it on the other side on travel line, and he sits there a lot, because they merge, and as they merge, they're trying to get around people, so they're speeding. I've seen them catch people in front of
It's
you.
not uncommon, 50 miles an hour
Oh,
in
yeah.
front of,
Right.
in front of the World Market.
Right.
But
Yeah, see, we won't have a sign there, so, yeah.
I don't understand the location of the signs, but we also were thinking about, those sort of flashing signs might only be able to go into 25, but don't we remember had trailers that said your speed is? Why can't we have those?
That's up to you, I have not budgeted a price tag.
I thought
we
we
used
did
to-
have
we did-
prices for that from Gina.
No, that was only the radar signs, the ones that on the poles, not the trailers. I haven't done any of the trailers.
Those are in the budget,
But that would be, talk about things that we could spend TRT funds on, that would be a really good use of funds.
But that, just keep in mind though, that would require these guys to spend a lot of time moving them. That would have to factor into what they do is
Why would they
spending them.
have to be moved?
And just because you would not want them just to sit in one spot, would you?
Yeah, they could sit on the spot right where, we have trouble, or by the, past the post
So one
office,
place.
one on, yeah.
So they wouldn't have to move them, ever.
Well, it'd be nice to have them move, but we don't have to move.
And that's my point, is I'm thinking about, and we're gonna do whatever you guys wanna do, but it's just, we can get a trailer, but you guys used to have a trailer, and it didn't hold up to the weather. But I understand it was really cool.
But it's most important in summer, and then we could put it inside. I mean, I think we should at least
So
price them out.
If you want me to price them out, we can do that, I just didn't do that. It's really what you guys want. Or what you wanna recommend to the council.
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
Fran said something that has me a little questioning. We pay for a 40 hour per week officer, but he's not in the area 25% of the time?
I don't know that
Is
we
that
can
what I
say
heard?
25%, we've never actually costed out what time he has. Walmart said 25%, and I can call, we know that I've had a conversation with Sheriff Landers about this and said, first of all, when he's not here and he's like out of training and stuff like that, we talk about the training, I'm supposed to get a training list, that we need to be able to have somebody here. They have started giving us a backup when Casey's not here, but he doesn't always stop in. So now I said, he needs to stop in, I need to know he's here.
But he's also responding to other calls is what we learned from, I think he
As
said.
does Casey, if he is the closest. He's here on our seawall, and there's something in Glen Beach, and nobody else can get there, they send him. Regardless of whether he's on our dime.
And so I believe that was the discussion that Walport and Yachats were having with Sheriff Landers at the time, and trying to get the county to offset their contracts with county funding to be able to cover that 25% time. But I wasn't I did not believe that our contract was the same.
It's not.
Where they are spending 25% of their time outside of our area.
When he is here, when he's scheduled, he is here, but he can get pulled away, and he has been. He
Sure.
got pulled away once to do a bigger case, and he had to spend hours on paperwork.
Okay.
So, I mean.
So we're not getting 40 hours a week is what you're telling me?
I wouldn't say we're getting 40 hours, but I don't know if it pays 25%. But I know we're not getting 40 hours, which is this discussion we had with him. Because he knows how I feel about him being there first thing in the morning to catch these people flying by.
And so this reduction from 199,000 to 182,000 is the money that the county has said that they no longer are gonna charge the cities because they never hired deputies, right?
Correct. It's
Okay.
that indirect cost that the counties, the sheriff got that eliminated.
And so our contract is gonna be updated to 182,000.
Yeah.
And so the budget number would be $360,000 for 2 deputies
Plus
plus
the
a
cost.
$65,000 car.
Correct.
So it would be 420,000.
Yeah, something like that.
So maybe we should make sure our contract requires the day we give them 40 hours a week of service.
I don't know if we can do that.
I don't think you can, there's laws about,
Yeah, no,
law enforcement
Well, I'm not
personnel.
saying they can't be pulled away, but they have to make up if they're not.
Well, maybe.
Well, I mean, if we're paying for it, we should get it.
I would agree.
and we're working on that. And they're working on it, the sheriff's department is working on it too. Oh, I'm sorry, Deanna.
No, I was just gonna say, I'm sure there's times when something happens here and it's off his normal hours, but they send somebody here. I mean, there's gotta be some give and take there,
Correct.
but they
But
probably.
the county in that case would be legally obligated to do that. That's part of our being in the county. And so if we didn't have a contract with them at all, they would still have to provide service to us here. I was under the understanding that our contract is to give us exclusive 40 hours a week of service, and so.
Is that what our contract says in there?
I don't
think it speaks to that
No.
exclusivity. The other thing is that from reading about the Walport Yachats thing, it specifically says in there, Ranger says that even if the county has a duty to respond, they're not gonna be able to do the same depth of having our own. Like, he's not gonna handle the Cook Avenue stuff for us. He's not gonna handle, what is it, handled, when I saw one, I can't think of it, not handling the guy who was parking in the no parking zone. They're not gonna handle that, cause it's minor. So, and they're not required to handle these things for us. They would only do the necessary things like burglary or assault or battery, things like that. They're not gonna, that's what I understood from reading Lander's letter about what they would respond. So yeah, we could do it. We could do whatever you wanted to do.
So in the case of our budget then, can we agree that 430,000 is the number, and that would be the worst case scenario if the council chooses to hire another deputy?
I believe so. Is there concurrence?
Did I hear that figure correctly, 400 and what?
It's 430. If we took 182,000 times 2, that's 364, and a new car is 65,000, so that's $429,000 for the 24-25 budget to hire a second deputy and keep our current one
But
that we have.
that's split between room tax and that, so it's split.
Well, it might actually, from what Councilor Lozelle is saying, depending on what it shakes out once we do the audit of the TRT funds, the general
Probably
fund,
is
the
there.
1% might have already covered all that.
But for now, that's where it is.
For now, that's what it is.
I'm just, you'll have to forgive me, I'm gonna have to look at this revenue a little bit more closely, because I just can't recall ever in the history of Depoe Bay this kind of spending. I mean, we're talking about almost $500,000 for the police. We're up $300,000 on payroll. Pretty quickly, we're gonna be, I don't know what else we're gonna be looking at here, but I'm sure there's $1 million in new expenditures, and I'm just kind of shocked as to where the money's coming from.
Because it's previous funds that we have accrued in our TRT funds. Did you listen to Bill?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
That's what's happening.
And I'm aware of the 70-30 rule, and I'm just wondering if all this stuff is squeezed into that, 30%.
Well, I mean, I can give you my interpretation of what the ordinances were, and we had,
No, I understand that, the state, but we have also in here a memorandum that says that, only 30% goes to infrastructure, and that the police, and the spending it on police is a real stretch.
but that's 30% of the 4% extra.
Accumulated through the years.
So
I got it.
the original 8%, we can spend that however we wanna spend that. And
sure.
the city councilors in the past had said that of that 8%, 1% needs to go to law enforcement. So that's what this number is that I believe we're talking about. The 70-30 split, there's lots of other things in this budget that we probably need to talk about, the 70-30 split, for sure.
Right, thanks.
The other thing I would like to add, I wish they would get more tickets.
I've actually told Casey to get more tickets. I did tell him, I said, and you need to report citations, and I said, because that's what we want to know. This was the same thing Millersburg wanted to know. Like, where are the citations? Because, but when he first started, because it was kind of new, he was new, and the city was new, getting used to him, he didn't issue a lot of tickets. He would have issued a lot of tickets on residents, is what he would have done, especially sitting out at the harbor.
Yes.
And people running the stop sign. I mean, I had several mention, long-term residents mentioned, I never think to stop there, I just go. Well, they do stop now.
I'm
So,
more interested in having, because we do get that revenue from the harbor launch.
yeah, he enforces that. Yeah. When it starts to get busy, I'll give him reports. We taught Roy, Carla taught Roy how to run the reports. So on the weekend, so he can run them for him, or Brian can run them on Sundays, or if I'm here, and he'll go down and he'll enforce them. Usually when I'm here, I run Saturday and Sunday, so we can look and see who's there Saturday, to see if there's there Sunday and pay for 2 days.
So we've got half an hour left, guys, so should we move on here?
That was fast.
Is there anything under Parks and Rec that anybody has any challenges or questions on?
Professional services, I read on page 3 of 52.
Parks and Rec again.
Page 7 of 27.
I answered that in the notes,
Yeah,
and I think I reduced it to
just the-
30,000.
just a placeholder if we have a project that needs support?
Exactly,
What, do we have anything in mind for
not
that?
right now,
And that would be the engineer?
yes. Or actually, it's listed as professional services, so it could be anything else associated with somebody, we would need to help us with something with usually gonna be a capital project, it's not just gonna be a regular project, so.
So it's professional versus contract services?
Correct,
So those things mean different things, right?
they do.
So we should probably professional / contract.
I would not, contracted services, there aren't any except for under parks and maintenance and repairs. The CAFAS lawn maintenance is the only contracted service, and it actually comes out of parks. The rest of it comes out of the general fund. So professional services would not be contracted services, it would be engineers,
So
lawyers,
when are we grant writers talk about if we need a city engineer, versus, are we gonna talk
we
about?
can have that talk now, because we're talking about, we
Then
haven't,
we should get
personnel.
Mayor, what would you wanna do?
That's fine. We can do it right now.
so I I spoke to the city manager in Millersburg who went through the process of hiring a assistant city manager and city engineer. So, I did not, this is not in your packet, I just got him, he gave it to me for notes and it's not in this printed one. Anyway, he explained it, but when I did, I ran the numbers, you can find anything online on how to do a calculator, so I found the numbers on how to calculate what it would cost us to bring a city engineer on. Assuming we would pay them $125,000, which would be probably a close to a bare minimum to get a good city engineer. You don't want a junior, you don't want a person right out of school, so you may actually pay more than $125, but let's just use $125. When you add on benefits, you would want to probably give this gentleman or lady a car allowance, cell phone. When you add on all this, and then you add on all the taxes and health insurance and benefits, the calculator I used came up to $108,000 is what we'd be paying for a city engineer.
But we're
It's not, I have not factored that, this is just,
No, but just what we have in the supplemental expenditures across funds,
I updated.
$617,500.
well, let me further explain this, because the money's just a small piece of it. You have to have a place to put them. Right now, we don't have a place to put them. We would have to buy all the equipment, the computers, we would have to buy CAD. CAD is thousands of dollars. We would wanna make sure that somebody would have that, and which is a different skill set, because the designs and everything that we need. We would also, location. The other thing is that one of the things that's best about a firm, like we have with AKS Engineering, is the firm aspect of it. Right now, if you can hire a general civil engineer, then we'll have to go contract for geotech review, they might not have that skill set. They might not have the skill set of surveying, and we have the access to that. As John reminded me, has a lot of admin support. The civil engineer would not have this admin support, so they have somebody to do all the paperwork, to put together the bid packages, all these things. Our city engineer would not have any of that support, and we don't have time to do it. And neither do we have the bandwidth or skills to do some of these designs and drawings and things.
Well, my only comment would be, what would the likelihood be with our housing shortage, risk actually have someone here? I think that's really almost.
I didn't even think about housing, but I mean,
Well,
depends.
and the thing is that you just mentioned the skill sets that we have. And the thing is that these are just estimates. There's no way until we get into the projects themselves to know what the costs are gonna be for like our wastewater treatment plant.
I have no idea.
We spent $300,000 on our harbor for engineering, and that is still climbing. So, we have no idea what we would spend on any of these projects. This is a best guess, like I mentioned earlier, to get us started, and just so that we wouldn't have to come back to council every time that we went over budget to,
I
Get
don't
these
wanna
projects-
spend all this, I'm
No.
hoping we don't have to.
no,
But it's nice to know that it's there so that we can access it if we need it. He's finding out, for instance, a lot of things in wastewater haven't been kept up to code in the way that they should have been. So what does that look like? I don't know. I mean, we're gonna need a brand new water treatment plant. You know, we're paying, so we got budgeted for them to do the foundation. They're not doing the foundation, so that money is really gonna be based on design, but once they do the design, I don't know, because then we're gonna have to go out for construction and, you know, create a bid package. So I know that you guys aren't questioning the need for engineering, I understand that. And I'm not trying to say let's not hire an employee, I'm just saying that the firm aspect is the most important thing. Because if I need something, he's got somebody that can do it right now. And, he whips things out for me really fast, and it's knowing that they would not have all of that as an employee.
So we seem to contract with the sheriff's department and we contract with other organizations.
A lot of small cities do this.
And so have we considered the possibility of using a firm, but having a contracted employee from that firm that is our engineer who is responsible for the vast majority of what goes on here? And if that person needs to reach out to somebody else in the firm, they can do that, but we still have a contracted rate for an employee that is not gonna cost us, in your worst case scenario from the budget a while back, it was $1 million. I think we've updated it now to 600 and something, but $600,000 is a lot of money to spend on
we've got a
what
lot of projects.
we do, but it doesn't do us a whole lot of good to have $600,000 on engineering for a project we can't afford to do in the first place. And so I'm just concerned that we're spending a huge amount of money, or we're gonna budget for a huge amount of money for engineering services that are really eating up any money that we would have had to do the projects in the first place.
Engineering is always a big part of a project.
No, I understand
Always
that.
a big part. So we're doing projects now where we're doing, for Collins, for example, Collins. We spent tons of money on the design and the supplies, we haven't even done construction yet. And it's gonna be $1 million to just do the construction.
Yes, minus supplies, so.
Yeah, so, the firm, so contracting with a firm and as an employee, first of all, I doubt that anybody would do that. Secondly, we're already doing that because we're paying whatever the rates are, and I have to look and see what John's rates are, but, that's what we're doing. We're just not having to pay for benefits, vacation, sick, any of the extra costs that we would have to pay for if we were.
So John is almost like an employee, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's our
absolutely,
boss.
he really
And
is.
infrastructure, the costs, I mean, this town, I ran a tiny HOA and all the infrastructure was 50 years old. I know what it's like when it's all falling apart. You have asbestos cement pipe everywhere that you're gonna, I mean, it's old, it's tired, it has to be replaced. We don't have any choices about projects that we're gonna do. We either put in a new water plant or we're not gonna have water. I mean, it's really serious basic stuff.
Yeah, and
So, and I'm not surprised that we're gonna have we have got to budget for a lot of engineering work. And the diversification of the skill sets that you get with a firm, there's no comparison to what you get with just one employee.
They can even do a yellow book appraisal if we need.
Sweet!
Oh,
Woo!
So Molly
For
thought
less
that,
than 20 or whatever that
Yeah.
was.
I'm just thinking of the years that we had a city engineer.
We
And
did.
didn't really know what.
Well, not a staff person, but
Well,
Clearwater
so,
engineering
mhm.
was almost.
And
like a
we've had
staff
some
person.
issues that have been rearing their heads because we didn't have a city engineer either design it or review it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the
Now
things that we're
it's
dealing
work.
with right now are because we did not have a city engineer to design it or review it.
so is it okay if we leave it in there?
Sure, I think we should.
I mean, it's the best guess, and
I'm
it
just one
doesn't,
voice on
yeah.
a,
until we get through with,
I just am concerned about the number, I think it's
Yeah.
a very high
I
number.
understand.
it is a high number, but we've got lots of things going on.
So does any grants cover capacity?
Absolutely.
Oh, sure, and I'm gonna apply for as many grants as I can this coming year. And I just am determined to get money to do our plan.
So that would cover some of the engineering.
Oh, yeah.
So do we have that in the budget, what we anticipate from grants?
Oh, no, because you just.
We don't know how much we're gonna spend.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather us to get a big grant and do a supplemental, a real quick resolution supplemental.
Yeah.
Because,
Do we know where we're applying for, like, are we, health authority, water?
Health Authority has one, yes, they absolutely have one. I don't think it's open into the fall, but yes, that's what I'm
It'd be
looking at.
nice to kind of see what we, or maybe have our grant writer, hey, to see what funds we can get to cover.
I'm gonna have them source some things, yeah, have them, but the thing is that what we need is we need an estimate. We don't have anything from,
We know what
Yeah.
projects we're working on, so we should maybe could start looking at what grant, state or federal grants are available to help cover some of these costs to get the projects done.
Absolutely.
And we do have a grant writer that was part of their contract, right? To look for opportunities for us, so if we know the projects that are coming up.
Then we need
Williams-
engineering to help us with estimates.
I'm not saying anything different, Kathy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we don't need an engineer, I'm just saying that's a lot, I agree with Bill, it's a lot of,
It is a lot of money.
and I agree about the capacity of the firm, but, it's a lot of money, so I'm just asking now, can we reduce those by being a lot more specific about what are their grant opportunities coming out to reduce some of the capital costs and some of the planning costs. There are planning grants, for engineering included, and then there's build grants. So
Right.
I would just like to get a little bit more specificity on
We don't have time for specificity right now.
that. Well, yes, not right now in the budget, but we do have a grant writer, and we should task them.
Right, to going forward, but right now we need to pass a budget. And this budget has got to reflect increased costs that we're going to have to.
Yeah, but our resources line should also reflect that we might have money coming in from grants. So I guess we can't get that now so quickly, but.
There is money in it. There's $100,000 in the revenue line for grants.
yeah, that's my money I'm hoping to get for the park.
So there's,
I can put numbers in there. I can put any
I'm not
number you want me to
comfortable
put in
with
there, I just don't know what it will be. First of all, I don't know how much the plant's gonna cost us, so I don't know what grant to go for, because whether it's a federal grant or another grant. Most of these grants, I think, for infrastructure either come up later in the year or early in the year. And we've already obviously missed all those. So the grant writers, I'll have them source like they did last, remember that spreadsheet they did? They'll just update the spreadsheet, but we can totally look at the spreadsheet again. Because most of those grants, the dates have changed, but they're pretty much the same, they have them every year, so. But yeah, I can put a number in there if you guys wanna have more in there.
I like it to be a surprise.
Well, and we don't know what the cost is, so how do we,
No, yeah, I'm
how
not
do we know
comfortable
how
with
much to put it? Until we spend the money on the engineering and know what our costs are gonna be.
I'm trying to get grants to cover the engineering one, too.
Absolutely.
But I'm not I absolutely agree with that, I'm all about getting grants, but I'm not comfortable being so assumptive that we're gonna get a grant to put it in the budget.
Okay, that's fine.
And the revenue side of this equation shows us that actually it's 4.2 million, at least that's what I had on the to-date was we're to-date general fund resources of $4.2 million, and we're budgeting basically $2 million above that for this coming year. And so we've got $2 million worth of more resources coming in, is that what I'm understanding? So this was back on the original numbers that you provided on that budget?
Right, cause there was that 400,000 or 323,000 that came from LGIP that was not factored in.
So we're going from 4.5 million, so that's what our to-date is.
5.472.
Our to-date right now is 4.531 and we're budgeting 6.184, right? On page 2 of 27, so if we're gonna have a balanced budget, we're gonna expend $6.1 million worth of revenue.
If we're gonna have a balanced budget, we're going to spend, I just did all this. Oh, 472.64, but we're not spending all that. 711 is unappropriated and over 2 million is an operating contingency and reserve for future expenditures. So we're not,
There's
that's,
still budget items, they're
it's still a budget item, right? But when you look at what we're spending, that's not spending, that's holding, that's reserving, that's savings account. And it's probably gonna be bigger when we figure out TRT, because there's that 7% that should have been dropped into general fund every year that's never been.
Yeah, but that money
But that
is,
money's still the money.
it's probably in
It's
the
living in-
LGIP account.
Yeah, it's living
It's
in,
not-
it's living in another account somewhere.
Right, it's not.
It's
even
not an
money.
increase in money
I
that
get
the city
it, but
has.
it shows, I get it, but it shows here what it's gonna reflect here.
It'll change whether it goes in the left pocket or the right
I
pocket.
get that.
but the money is still the
I
money.
get that.
Okay. Should we move on here? We'll figure that out as we go on here. We're going on to TRT. Any questions on that? I think Bill had good questions and good, that was fabulous. Thank you so much for researching all of that.
I have a question that wasn't answered by that memo from the budget
Okay.
about TRT or what we've done on. So I do not see a distinction between tourism promotion and tourism related facilities. I could be wrong there. And my feeling is, personally, we don't need more tourism in Depoe Bay. We need to control the impacts of tourism. And so I don't mind spending tourism promotion on a Salmon Bay promotion or Fleet of Flowers or Wooden Boat Show, but or, you know, something alternative, but to have 50,000 when I see tourism, to me that, I would rather spend it in tourism-related facilities with a minor part in tourism promotion.
We have to spend money on promoting Depoe Bay for tourism. It's in the memos. If you read the memos from Benedict, it says, and Bill, am I correct?
And
We
both.
have to spend money on tourism promotion
And tourism-related facilities.
and tourism related, but we're not spending any money on tourism promotion right now. We don't run ads, we don't give money to the chamber, we don't do any of this.
Yes, we do. We help support the Salmon Bay, we help support the Fleet of Flowers. You know, those things add up. We
They
have,
don't actually add up.
well, with staff time that
We barely spend time. They put banners up. And then, what else did you do? You put the
Delivered
stage.
garbage cans, the
Delivered
stage,
but
signs.
that's this time.
But that is tourism related, it is not tourism promotion. Tourism promotion is running ads in the 101, Highway 101 thing. I've heard references to billboards in the past, I'm not in favor of billboards, but that is what we should be doing.
So my thought on tourism promotion, and again, I'm in this industry, so I tend to be a little more slighted. Our budget depends substantially on transit lodging taxes. And we're seeing a decrease in the industry right now of transient lodging. I mean, we're down anywhere from 4 to 18% no matter who you talk to. And so I know there are a number of large tourism organizations that have been targeting cities and
Yes.
saying, you know what? You're not spending this money on promoting tourism, and so we're gonna file a lawsuit against you because the state says you have to spend that money on tourism. Now, we're tiny, that's not to say they won't come this direction, but we really are not spending money on promoting tourism to our little town. And I don't know if that's the reason that we're down. I mean, there could be a whole slew of other reasons there. But I think the amount of money, I think in the budget was about $50,000 or something similar to that amount of money. I think that's a small amount of money to spend of the millions that come in on supporting or trying to encourage people to stay in our hotels and even our restaurants and that kind of thing. In my opinion.
Do we know what other small cities do?
They do have
All the rules.
robust chambers that promote like
Active
crazy.
chambers. That's a big
I see
difference.
what the other cities do, what Waldport does, what Yahas does, Lincoln City, oh my gosh. I haven't really paid attention to Newport. I don't know why, but I've seen what Cannon Beach, Seaside, they all have very robust, active promotion chambers. And a lot of these groups like Lincoln City, Explore Lincoln City, or Discover, that's part of the city. The city runs that, oversees that. They have their own director, but the city oversees that, provides money to it.
So has Depoe Bank ever had an active chamber?
Yes.
You'd have to ask people that've been here.
They had a.
I've heard it's been real active.
What was that called? Gracie Run, Harbor, there was a.
Businessmen, business owners.
Merchant
Owners.
So Gracie started that
Yeah,
to get the Chamber of
Yeah,
Commerce
I've
off
heard
its
there was
Easter
two of them,
move.
so they had two
So-
different groups.
Right, but yes, we used to have an office and people staffing it and very active,
Can we have a subcommittee on this, maybe, like a tourism, like, how to deal with this?
Whatever you would like to do.
Sure.
I do want to let you know that we've been getting a lot of phone calls from people who cannot find the Depoe Bay Tour Chamber. They call the number, nobody answers. They send mail, we actually had somebody put, at the post office, put a registered notice on our mailbox because somebody sent something to the chamber at the Depoe Bay and Jenny was like, that's not, it was directed to Melissa. I'm like, that's not us. So, we're getting a lot more calls about where's the chamber. I've been trying to reach the chamber, their number is disconnected, or before it just rang, but now, we had a lot of people call us on the craft feed. We had some people call recently on Fleet, but that's different, but we've had a lot of people calling looking for the
we
chamber.
can put an item on the agenda.
Yeah, I can put it on, what, June? The next one?
So as far as the line item is concerned with
We've gotta
this,
keep it in there, it's gotta be in there, we've got to promote tourists. I mean, they are our lifeblood, and that's why I go walking at 6 and 7 in the morning to avoid them. But,
That's not why you do it.
well, I love garbage,
You pick up trash.
but, I do, I do try to avoid people.
Oh, well, I know, this weekend I was like, oh.
Welcome to summer. I know.
But then I go, cha-ching.
So this tourism related facilities, I don't see our traffic signs in here.
That's under streets, isn't it?
I do not know, maybe Bill can help me out, if we can make the distinction that that is tourist related only. We can probably do a percentage of it, but I don't know if we can make that distinction, but we can certainly put a percentage of it in there.
The second factor on that, and I, my opinion would be that it's tourist related.
Okay. So you think it's full, I'm looking because you and I both analyzed those memos.
I read the same memos that everybody has, and it seems to me that it would fall under that category of being, if not 100%, at least partially.
We could do the 70-30, 70% to that, and I'm
The
hoping
vast
the grant we
majority
get
of people
pays
that use
for
this
it.
highway are not the residents of
Vast
Depoe Bay.
majority, I would say more than 90%. I have a figure from ODOT about what traffic goes by Depoe Bay. We have it, I think we wrote it into the Langston grant.
I don't think we can say, I know that, but we have a lot of people that live in Lincoln City that drive to Newport, that's not tourist related. I mean, I get the traffic figures, but you realize that we have a lot of transit people driving between Celeste, Newport, so
I
I would
only
be,
have 3,000 people living here.
I was gonna say, I think we only have 1,500 people living here.
So anyway,
It's up to you guys, whatever we put in there, we would have to defend. If it ever comes up, like he says, it probably wouldn't be, but if you think that 100% of this, assuming we don't get the grant, should go in here, I'm more than happy to have it in here.
I'd like to see some, actually, there's an example on page
Yeah.
32 of 52. of
Yes,
the
that was
handout.
provided by Ms. Foss.
I would like to see some signs in the walkway saying pedestrians, please stop for pedestrians, and I see that as being very tourist oriented. And I'd
Very.
also like to see some crosswalks on the south side of the bridge so that our lovely tourists don't get mowed over trying to go from the Thai restaurant to Kippy Trip or to the Mexican restaurant. But I would, and it looks like they're not going to cost us a whole lot of money. And I know Kim is having somebody research whether we can have that done.
Right.
But I see that as, I mean, it's good for the residents, but I think it's also really good for the tourists who just dart across the road.
Yeah, I yelled at one this weekend who was gonna walk out of their car and go across. I said, use the crosswalk.
What I find is rather interesting about this whole tourism-related facilities thing is our city attorneys have taken a much more liberal approach to this than attorneys in other cities.
Yes.
I mean, when we were at the League of Cities meeting, the city of Lincoln City, they're not even wanting to use their tourism-related facilities to actually support the beach accesses.
Yeah, I had that
And that-
discussion with our
And that
city
just seems
manager.
rather strange to me, so our attorney has taken a much more broad approach than it seems like other city attorneys are, and so the legislature has deliberately left it very vague, and the cities are allowed to interpret it. I would just encourage, and I'm glad to see it in this budget, that we are actually now identifying the projects for the 70% requirement, and that the numbers are rolling up to whatever that 70% number should be.
Yeah, I worked really hard to try to do that, thinking about, like, for example, our city park, and I think I wrote that in here. Our city park, I would not say is primarily to the majority, the majority is what Benedict kept saying, whatever the majority is. I would not say our city park is majority tourists, which is why, even though I put the bridges in here, I only did 30%, and the 70% goes into the parks fund. So anything that I have in here, and the percentage I put is because, okay, we're majority, and I really focused on that, what that majority would look like. Now, I'm free to be wrong, if you guys think that I have one of these percentages wrong. I mean, most of you, all of you have lived in this city a lot longer than me, so, but, just being down at the park and knowing
I'm
it's hard
in
for you.
agreement with that, I'm still focused on the traffic safety right now.
Oh, yeah, whatever you wanna do.
Yes, can I ask, where does, these signs, are they in the budget somewhere?
They're under streets. They're under streets. Radar signs under equipment, under capital outlay,
Page
page 14.
14.
And I'll have to admit, I didn't, look at that part of the other handout. Are they solar? The only reason
I had to ask for battery.
because we had signs up in, Stonebridge, and they were nothing, they were solar.
We did.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did, and we did, and they were nothing but trouble, and the batteries kept dying on us, and it was difficult to keep them up, so, we can find out what that company is, so you don't go with them again, but just to keep that in mind.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
In the end, they left no carbon footprint.
I talked to,
It's
this
not even
company,
there anymore.
the company that came out, they do a lot of business for cities, and I
So
spoke,
did these people,
I spoke about the weather with them.
so did we.
Let me know who
So,
that is,
I'll find
because
out.
salesman will sell you anything.
Yeah, I'll find out for you, cause it was, not, they're gone now, we
Yeah.
had to take them.
I noticed, I live there now, it's like, so,
To Member Fawcett's question, these radar signs here are not the ones that are the push the button to cross the.
Right.
Oh, no, they are not.
they are not,
These are just the 25-mile-an-hour signs, and when Lincoln City did the one that they just recently updated, it crosses I-5 or I-5, 101 and has the island in the middle, that was $500,000.
remember, when I got there, we talked about doing
Huge
the post office, and
I
we
think
would have to
to
ADA
grant
that.
or something.
I think one thing we need to think about, we're in a very unique area with the spouting horn right there. That's a lot of salt water getting sprayed on these signs.
Yeah.
We put that kind of money in them, who knows how long they're gonna last.
But that's why I like the pedestrian signs, because they were like $200. You could replace those.
Not the push button ones.
No,
Okay.
the ones on like page 32 of the handout, that just say pedestrian crossing, please stop.
We just haven't heard from them yet.
as
We're
to
waiting
whether
to
or
find
not
out if
those
we
will
can
work,
do
but
that.
they're like a couple $100
Yeah.
each, so you could do
Yeah.
a fair number of those, and if you have to replace them every 2 or 3 years, you can.
So, to me, this is a really high priority for public safety, and I think they're really tourism related. I don't mind leaving some in, radar signs in streets, but I think it really is tourism related. And, I would love to explore the cost of those trailers that can go on the margins of the, under the
I agree with
TRT, and then,
But can we just leave this in here for now?
but I think we need to add something to the TRT as well.
Oh, okay.
You could call that the trailers or something, and
Oh,
find
okay.
out, speed trailers, and I'm thinking, yes, winter and spray is a big deal, but we could garage them out off the main part of the season, so we have them for summer and fall, and then Memorial Day too, or whenever.
Do we have any idea how much those things were ancient, they're 3
Yeah, those
years
were all
old.
rusted apart. They lasted for quite a while, but
Yeah.
So if we
Should we budget, say, 30,000?
Oh, I think they're much more than that. I think like maybe a hundred.
Well, it depends what kind of speed trailer you want.
Your speed is,
No, no.
on the trailers, right? It says what our speed, the two ones, the one that says what the speed limit is and your speed.
Oh, I said speed trailer, and it came up to the movie. I'm like, what? I
So it's
speed
worse that you don't mention it at a meeting, obviously.
So we can fill that in next time. We're not gonna adopt the budget today, but.
Yeah, they don't give you, I'll have to get prices, cause they always make you call, there's no price on this thing. I found a compact one, I think this compact one would be nice, but there's no price on it, so.
So I think we need one on the north part of town, on the west side of the street.
So what you're saying is we are gonna have, more than any other city, we're gonna have 4 speed signs,
That's fine, we have,
electronic signs in our beautiful city with our beautiful views of the ocean.
we can place them strategically.
Or we can think this through and have it in the budget and then decide at a council meeting which we want. That way we've got it budgeted and we can just go forward with options. We have options available.
And I do think we should add, as Member Fawcett said, something for the pedestrians downtown here.
Yeah.
If we can get it approved by ODOT, we really need to do
Oh,
that.
gosh, yeah.
We'll try, I mean, they're just slow in responding, the signs group, the road group is just slow. So she asked last week and we'll keep following up on it.
I noticed that we do not have designated crosswalks south of the bridge.
We don't.
Is that something ODOT has to do,
They would probably have to come out and decide where one would go.
where one will go, but the city could actually do it?
Oh, sure, they would love for us to pay for it.
So did we
The
put a,
striping.
Yeah,
did we
the
find a
striping.
price for speed trailer?
I put down to look at two of them, which is what the council rec is recommending. I don't
And we
know.
have pedestrian crossing
And the
signs.
signs would be a rounding error within that.
Well, I think if you had 4 signs and 2 policemen.
And then nobody's gonna come to the city.
So should we put 50,000 down?
I can put that in there, but I have no idea if that's what it's gonna be. I can put a number in there and then we can talk about it in the next meeting.
You have 4 minutes, so do we wanna go to streets? And is there any questions? This one's pretty straightforward, I don't think I had any issues with that, unless you had any questions for Kim.
I have a quick question, do we have asphalt for a number of streets on streets, I mean, we're doing
I
asphalt this
am
year?
in the process of finding a new asphalt company because I'm tired of hearing that roadway and road and driveway only comes when they want to.
Good luck with that.
But they are not the only game in town because we got a call from somebody today, they get their hot mix from Gerhart. They will come out to Depoe Bay, they will come out and do our thing, so I'm gonna be meeting with some people because I'm tired of hearing they will do this.
Geddes doesn't do it anymore?
They have to get their next permit.
Oh, they get their bits from program. Anyway, I would like to see, is there a list of streets that we've targeted for asphalt?
I don't think, Brady probably has, but that money is in here.
It's in here, okay.
We just don't know what it is. I had a request from somebody who wants a lot more on North Point gravel or asphalt because he has a wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
So Brady might have in his head what he wants to do, but I just put a number in there based on what we spent this year. So he'll be able to do the streets, and if there's streets you guys would like to see done more than others, then please let us know.
I think Randy did have a list, because I remember our discussion last year.
Yeah.
But, my other question is, I'd really like to get some of the handicap upgrades in the budget for this year, start working on the area between Sunset and Harney for the sidewalks and, the ramps. And it's expensive, and, you can get, going on it though, some of the priority areas. We already have a list of areas that ODOT and Kit Fox worked on. We could prioritize those.
But is that city budget or urban renewal? Because I have nothing in here for doing any kind of work on the ADA.
Well, Highway 101 is in the urban renewal district, so, I
I
don't,
put that under urban renewal then as a question.
as long as it gets done somewhere.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, and 2 minutes. I don't wanna do harbor.
Hi, Harbor's good.
And wastewater, should we just adjourn for the evening?
What is your thought about how much more time we need for this? Because that's gonna adjourn in the next meeting.
Are there any other questions, major issues that you have with any of the rest of the budget?
Mayor, if I may.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to get things into the budget. And I'm not interested in putting a lot of things into the budget. I've never recommended an expenditure in my life except at the previous budget meeting. And I asked that we consider just a couple of things so that our citizens could benefit from them. One was outdoor exercise equipment for adults at the park. Things like this right here that are all weather that can help us lead healthier lives.
That's part of what I wanna do with the park upgrade.
And the other thing,
Yeah.
the other
Part
thing
of
was,
what I wanna do for the park upgrade.
the other thing was a reader board at the,
Yeah, where would we put it, Counselor?
we'll put it down at the community hall. It would inform us of upcoming events and whatever was going on at the community hall, so that we would know these things.
I have been thinking about a reader board, and I find great value in this. Okay, and you can get it so you can run it from the cloud, so we can set up whatever messages we want to do.
As far
I
as
am
the,
worried about the brightness though, and where it would be pointed.
well,
They can
they're
be
not
pretty
very,
bright.
they're not very bright.
Oh, they can be very bright.
We don't
I
want bright.
blew out some eyeballs when I did the first.
Kind of like the
adjustment
one up
for-
at the Lincoln State Community Center.
Well, you have
Do they
to
have to be
change the
internally
settings.
lighted? Can't they just be?
It can just, no, they don't have to be like that. They can just be digital.
Please tell me you don't want us to put letters down there? A board with letters?
Oh, so that you can go down and do that on Friday afternoon?
Yeah, please
No,
don't tell me
we're
you want
talking
to do
digital,
that.
we're just talking digital.
Okay, scare me.
With the wind blowing, it'll be.
Okay, so I only know of one type of reader board, so I guess I'm gonna have to do some research. I only know one where you put a message on, do it from your computer and it scrolls and
Yeah.
you can get it to do fun things, or you could get it to just show messages, but it took forever to adjust the color and the light intensity at Millersburg that made people happy. I can't believe how many people had comments on that.
You only have to make me happy.
Well, I've got this Counselor Sovereign, and she's just as feisty as you are.
Mr.
Mr. Sovereign, okay, I got Mr. Smillian. So, but yes, I would love to have them, that'd be great. I
Maybe
would-
if it, like, we just say private party or, you know,
I- we
emergency
could-
preparedness event.
what I would want the council to do is to help me figure out a policy of what you
Yeah.
want to do, just like we did in Millersburg. But the color is when you put them up, how many you put up. It's not just as if, probably about 6 to 8,000, maybe 10.
Should we put 10,000
Because
in?
we paid 6,500 for the one we did, but that was back in 2018.
Why don't we put 10,000 in?
If you did it on the side, on the north side of the building, it wouldn't.
But what about the exercise equipment?
It's part of the whole project.
It's one of the things I wanna do when we upgrade the surface of the park, include exercise equipment for adults. And, I'm trying to get some things from, still trying to get some things from Kelly at Cedar Hills. But yes, absolutely, if you have ideas, I would
Yeah.
love to see what
Right
they
there.
are. I'm also getting ideas from NFK about some accessible playground equipment that they would like to do. They've done a lot of research on that for me. But read a word to come home, okay?
One point I would just like to make on the budget, which I didn't see, and I know the council's been having discussions about it, is land acquisition. I didn't see significant budget for the property that we're talking about up north, the property next to the harbor. There's no budget line items for those, and so if we need to or wanna have the opportunity to do that, we should include those in the budget.
Most of the ones we're gonna want are gonna be in the urban renewal district, which would be part of that discussion with the separate meeting.
Except the one behind the post office is not.
It should be,
Not necessarily,
but I think it should be. I think we should roll that whole thing into urban renewal, like we did last time.
but there's nothing gonna be built on that, so it's not gonna contribute to the urban renewal fund. I don't know, but as long as it's somewhere in the budget. But the other thing we don't have in the budget is, the cost if we want to upgrade our charter, and if we want to look into, raising revenues from, some sort of taxes, and then running a campaign. So,
I think the charter is just gonna be basically attorney fees, going over that, and, maybe some incidentals for,
There'll have to be an election.
yeah, an election,
Have
yeah.
some kind of a,
Yeah.
but in the charter, one of the things we should allow is for us to, charge taxes.
Right.
And so we do that at the same time, because we're gonna have to run a campaign,
Right.
and we might as well, do the tax issue at the same time, since we're.
Yeah.
So anyway, we need some funding for, like you say, attorney's fees and, additional public meetings maybe,
Yeah.
and for, bond, advertising.
Part of these discussions that you're having is you're wearing your council hat, and that's a different hat. So you can make a recommendation as the budget committee to the council, but the ultimate decisions and discussions on these types of things should be at the council level, because these are policies that. So, I'm happy to throw in some numbers on professional services and what it might, legal. Most of this we could do ourselves, it's just the time to do it, having, it mostly be attorney fees to put the ballot title together and all that stuff. But you haven't decided what taxes you wanna do yet, so you have to have that discussion first. We have an opportunity, and this was something I was gonna discuss with the council, of having somebody who presented legal board in cities about how to increase taxes and actually get the increase approved, and he's willing to come here. We would just pay him travel fees from Grants Pass, and it was an amazing presentation about options, because you talked about having a meeting about increasing revenue, he laid it all out. It's a really wonderful presentation, and he tells you how to do it so we get it passed. It took him 2 years. He said expect 2 years to get something to pass. There's a lot of work involved in getting the public to buy it, if you want it to pass. But if I was gonna talk to the council about it and see if they were interested in having them come out and speak, because it was amazing.
So should we up legal fees by what, 10,000?
Oh, no. No, I'd probably go to 20.
20,000? Let's just up the legal fees to 20,000, and we'll take that before council.
So we wouldn't have promotion fees this year in terms of, it would be a sophisticated outreach. We would need sophisticated outreach to,
We can add it under advertising if you wanna increase that budget.
Oh, that's a good idea,
but
advertising.
that would just be,
Maybe another 5,000
city, it
there.
wouldn't be TRT.
Maybe another 5,000 there for advertising for promotion on that one, I think.
Well, developing the promotional materials, I don't think it's gonna be that simple.
Well,
Can we just do a workshop on this maybe first, just to explore this idea? Because the whole thing about taxes, it's a very explosive issue. The state just passed a corporate activity tax that has hurt many businesses. And they're struggling under this burden right now. And I would remind us that, 2 years ago, we changed our zoning and got rid of 80 new vacation rentals up at the north end that were providing over $1 million in revenue a year to the city.
But we need a budget and we need to have something in there that, so we can move forward. And a workshop will be fine, but then we need to move forward and have something in the budget, so.
Well, we need to explore all of the ways that we can raise money, not just to single out an industry and impose taxes on them.
And
Absolutely,
this workshop, this presentation explores all the ways we can raise money.
Yeah.
And things I didn't even think about, it was pretty cool. I was like, oh, we should do that.
No, I'm
So,
I'm
after
just-
land acquisition, do we need to plug in some numbers or?
If you want to, I'm looking for direction, and you guys are making a recommendation as the budget committee.
Okay, so is that under, okay,
The post office property is not. So if you want to recommend, if you're recommending that you want that line item in the administration budget, I need
I'd like to
concurrence.
recommend that.
And do I have concurrence from the budget committee to do that?
Can you explain exactly what you're adding and exactly what it's for?
Would you like to explain what
Sure,
it's
I'm
for?
happy to. We're looking at, having caches of the supplies all over the city. We have a good idea of where they're going to be here. We've gotten on this south side of the bridge as to where they're going to be. And we've got the buy-in from property owners about that. The concern that I have with this committee is that we have nothing really on the north end of the bridge. We have, an opportunity.
For the northwest end of the bridge.
I'm sorry,
The
wait,
northwest.
okay, sorry. We have an opportunity to, purchase some land by the post office. It's behind the, Depoe restaurant. Flat piece of land, nothing's been built on it ever, I don't believe. They're looking to sell that. We've talked about, the possibility of not only having a cache there, but other things to do with this land. I think having something like herbal gardens or community gardens is an idea. Public restrooms was an idea. I think that can be looked at in the future, but my concern is there's other supposedly contractors that are looking at that land to develop them. And I just think that would be a good piece of land because it's flat, it's on that part of town, and everybody would know where it is.
So that's on page 3 of, page 27 of 60, and the land acquisition line item?
And do we know how much?
Well, he wants, $93,000 for it. I don't think he needs to pay that much. I would think probably 90,000, 87,000, 8,700,000.
I'm going to budget 100 because I don't know what ancillary costs we might have to spend, time to review all that stuff.
So, my question, Mayor, was under parks. Can the original, again, I don't have the correlation between what you just handed out today and what the original was, but under parks, there was a $200,000 land acquisition proposed for
There
this
still
year.
is.
So would this purchase of this property not
No.
fit under that?
No.
Because it would be
It
part
was
of,
emergency preparedness.
so if you were to put a community garden there or something to that effect, would that not then be
Well, it
part?
probably would, but that's a future possibility. Right now, I think the main idea is to get the land for the original purpose of supporting the people in that end of the town.
And we
With
don't know if
emergency
we're gonna cash in just what kind of, like, what kind of dimensions, I mean, if you get big cash, we'll wanna put fencing, so there may not be much left over.
That's true.
Can we put it under TRT since they're planning to use it for the tourists?
Some of it should be that.
Oh, absolutely, some of it I was gonna put into TRT, but we can't make a case. We can say we're doing it for the tourists, but
Well, we can
We
do
can't really
both.
make the case, but we
But
can
that's
definitely put
where
some
all
of
the
it in there.
Walmart people get
That's
their
right.
theirs placed.
From what I understand, last time there was an emergency, Walmart bust their folks out.
They
I
did
don't
what?
know.
They
They
bust-
bust their folks
they
out.
actually-
That as soon as they
But
can.
during
And as
this,
soon as they can, I get that.
but with the cascading event, that's what I'm looking at, worst case scenario.
You
And
just
that would
also
be
have to
across the street
remember,
from them. I'm
the
sorry.
inundation comes pretty far up, it's pretty far up to that property, so,
We'd have to have the latest ODOT or. the
well,
G-
I've seen
the
that, and it
What
does
about
almost come up to that property, so a large part of that, I mean, it's just to be how they're gonna get
Well,
there.
and obviously our caches aren't that large, and we could fit
Well, we can
two,
get a big one.
well, that's true, but we could get 2 or 3.
We can get 2 or
up
3 big
up
ones,
towards-
yes.
Up towards William Street. And that's, I think that would be.
But yeah, we can totally change that and put a portion of that in this year.
I would
Change
support
that.
that. Thank you, Fran.
So for these extra things, are these just like coming out of reserves, is that where the additional revenue is coming from?
Is under our contingency funds. Contingency, we have.
So are we reducing contingency then?
Yeah.
For all of this additional stuff?
Yes.
What page is the contingency?
It's on,
Every fund has a contingency.
so we have an operating contingency fund of, $1,043,000.
They're not under TRT.
No, under the general fund, is
Right.
that where we're
We
putting
have
it?
more money in your general fund for that.
Yeah, that's where we're putting it under.
But we'll just put a percentage under TRT.
And
can we add another
5K for the
5 and 6.
Okay.
So we've got lots of, money in contingency.
We can test it on this later.
Okay. I don't wanna do this anymore.
It's not very much. Do we need to set a next meeting?
Yes.
She says we're elected.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
But I don't know how much more time you guys want to kind of suggestion on.
For the next meeting, can we get all of the revisions together in one single place? So that we can see them?
Yes.
And- Okay,
I'm gonna make the changes that we talked about today.
thank you.
I will add them to this. I will put them in red, these new ones, because you've already seen these other ones, these new ones, so you see what was actually updated.
And you can't necessarily see, I think to his point, you can't see, it started out at 100 and now it's at 350. If it's in red, we just see it's in 350, but we have to kind of dig to find out where it came from. Is there any way to like put some columns, like first iteration, second time, third time?
We're talking a lot of, work to do that.
Okay.
What I can do is Gina can help me and she can take notes of what was changed and we can just put a cover sheet. That'd be a lot easier.
Okay. So I don't think urban renewal will take 2 hours.
Well, the discussion might take one, and then the budget would be the other one.
I don't think it would be an hour.
That's for urban renewal, we're talking about this one.
I know, but I'm thinking on the same date,
Oh, that's okay.
that we could finish this budget up.
So you wanna have 3 hours on the 17th?
No, we're not gonna have 3 hours. I don't think urban renewal will take 2 hours. We've only got $1.3 million to
That's
spend.
up to you guys.
500,000 has gotta go to the harbor.
Well, we need a footnote that says it's only if needed.
Right.
So
Exactly.
but we need to allocate, if it's not needed, or potentially allocate what we're
What
doing
is
with
that
that
is
500K.
right,
Yeah.
right. But I don't think it would take a full hour. 2 hours.
Well, maybe an hour for the discussion and a half an hour to adopt the budget.
Yeah.
So 1.5.
Yeah, and would that leave half an hour would
And
be
that's on the 17th.
Yeah. Then we would have a half an hour to finish up our budget for the balance of this. And be sure, if you have other questions, this really worked well, sending them into Kim and.
Please review what I gave you
Yeah.
first before you ask me additional questions, and please also realize the questions you need to ask should be related to the budget, not council decisions.
Okay, are we done? I'm done.
Hi, Gina.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you guys. Good night.
What is this?